Elena Vasquez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she crawled out from under the massive power coupling. The Zephyrian defense grid was old, maybe 300 years, and it showed. Half the connections were corroded, and the other half were held together with what could only be called hope. "Another human fixing our problems," said Kexton, the Zephyrian overseer. His four arms gestured dismissively at the sparking machinery. "Your species is so useful. We should have brought humans here centuries ago." Elena smiled politely. She had heard this same comment on dozens of worlds from dozens of species. Humans were the fix-it people of the galaxy. They appeared harmless, worked cheap, and could repair anything. Perfect servants for the great galactic civilizations. "Just doing our job," Elena said, checking her tablet. The defense grid was worse than she thought. The power distribution was completely wrong, the targeting systems were outdated, and the shield generators were running at maybe 60% efficiency. But she would fix it all. Humans always did. Across the workshop, her team of 12 other engineers worked quietly. They never talked much while aliens were around, just did their work, made their repairs, and sent their daily reports back to Earth. Everyone knew humans were harmless. They had no military ships, no weapons technology, no interest in conquest. They just wanted to work. Elena opened her tablet and began typing her daily report. To anyone watching, it looked like a simple maintenance log. Power coupling replaced, shield harmonics adjusted, targeting array calibrated. But hidden in the data were other things. Weak points in the defense grid, response times for their military ships. How many troops were stationed on the planet? Every human engineer in the galaxy sent similar reports. For 300 years, they had been watching, learning, and cataloging everything. The aliens never noticed because humans were just the maintenance crew. "Elena," called out Jackson, one of her younger engineers. "Could you look at this?" She walked over to where Jackson was working on a sensor array. He had his tablet open, showing what looked like a normal diagnostic screen, but Elena could see the real message hidden in the code. "New orders from Earth Command." "Looks like a standard malfunction," she said loudly for the aliens to hear. Then, she touched her tablet to his, downloading the encrypted message. The contact lasted only a second, but it was enough. The message was simple. "Devourer fleet detected. Outer Rim colonies lost. Prepare for activation." Elena felt her heart rate increase, but her face stayed calm. She had been expecting this message for 20 years. Every human engineer had been expecting it. The Devourers were real, and they had finally come. "I need to check something in the main computer," Elena told Kextan. "Routine maintenance." The Zephyrian waved her away with two of his arms. He was more interested in watching the younger humans work. Like most aliens, he found human engineering fascinating, but considered humans themselves boring. Elena walked to the main computer terminal and plugged in her tablet. To anyone watching, she was running a diagnostic. In reality, she was sending a coded message to every human on the planet. The message was buried in routine system updates and maintenance protocols. It would take the aliens weeks to find it, if they ever looked. Within an hour, every human on Zephyria would know. The Devourers had come. After 300 years of preparation, it was time. Elena had been on Zephyria for 5 years. In that time, she had mapped every weakness in their defenses, cataloged every ship in their fleet, and identified every strategic resource on the planet. She knew exactly how long their shields could hold against different types of weapons. She knew which of their generals were competent and which were fools. She knew things about Zephyrian military capabilities that most Zephyrians did not know. And she was just one engineer on one planet. There were humans on every major world in the galaxy. Humans fixing their power grids, humans maintaining their ships, humans designing their cities. All of them watching, learning, and reporting back to Earth. The greatest intelligence network in galactic history, and none of the aliens had ever suspected. Her tablet chimed with an incoming message. It was from David Chen, her opposite on, the Altarian homeworld. To anyone intercepting it, the message looked like a technical discussion about shield harmonics, but Elena could read the real meaning. Altarian fleet dispatched to Outer Rim. Defenses minimal. Similar messages came in from humans across the galaxy. Military movements, fleet positions, resource allocations. Within hours, Earth Command would have a complete picture of galactic military status. They would know exactly where every ship was, exactly what weapons each species had, and exactly how to defeat them all. Because that was what humans did. They watched, they learned, and they prepared. Elena finished her work on the Zephyrian defense grid just as the emergency broadcasts began. The Galactic Council was calling for an emergency session. Reports were coming in from the Outer Rim. Entire colonies had simply vanished. No distress calls, no wreckage, no survivors. Just empty space where populated worlds used to be. Kextans. Skin turned pale blue, the Zephyrian equivalent of fear. "The old stories," he whispered. "The devourers have returned." Elena nodded sympathetically. "Is there anything humans can do to help?" It was the same question humans were asking on every world. Helpful, harmless humans offering to assist in the crisis. The aliens would say yes, of course, they always did. Humans were so useful in emergencies. "Perhaps," Kextan said. "Do humans have any military ships? Any weapons technology?" Elena smiled. It was the same innocent smile she had been practicing for years. "We have some defensive systems, mining ships, construction vessels, research stations. Nothing compared to your great fleets, but we would be happy to help however we can." Kextan patted her shoulder with one of his large hands. "Your species is so generous, so peaceful. We are fortunate to have humans as our friends." If only he knew, Elena thought. If only any of them knew. That night, Elena sat in her small apartment and opened her personal communication device. It looked like a standard tablet, but it was connected to a quantum entanglement network that linked every human in the galaxy. The aliens thought it was impossible to build such a network. They were wrong about many things. She typed a simple message. "Ready for activation." Similar messages were being sent from thousands of worlds. The quiet engineers were ready. The maintenance crews were ready. The harmless humans who fixed everything and threatened nothing were ready for war. In deep space, in asteroid belts and gas giant moons, in places the aliens had never bothered to explore, massive shapes began to stir. For 300 years, humans had been building, not just ships, but weapons that defied every known law of physics. Planet-sized vessels that could tear apart reality itself. The aliens had never wondered what humans did with their spare time. They had never asked why humans needed so many mining operations in empty space. They had never questioned why human research stations needed such powerful reactors. They would learn soon enough. Elena looked out her window at the Zephyrian city below. In a few days, this peaceful world would be a fortress, defended by weapons. The aliens could not even imagine. The quiet engineers would save them all, and none of them had been prepared for what humans could really do when the universe needed saving. Admiral Sarah Chen was reviewing mining reports when the signal came. To anyone watching, it looked like routine data from the Kuiper Belt operations. Production numbers, equipment status, worker schedules. Nothing interesting at all. But Sarah had been waiting for this signal for 30 years. She stood up from her desk aboard the research station Deep Horizon and walked to the communications array. Her fingers moved across the control panel, entering codes that officially did not exist. Around the Kuiper Belt, similar signals were being sent to hundreds of other installations. "Attention all units," Sarah broadcast on the hidden network. "Operation Homecoming is now active. Repeat, Operation Homecoming is active." 300 years of preparation were about to pay off. Outside the station, what appeared to be a large asteroid began to change. Metal panels that had been disguised as rock formations slid away, revealing massive weapon arrays underneath. The asteroid was actually a ship, and it was the size of a small moon. Similar transformations were happening throughout the Kuiper Belt. Asteroids unfolded like metal flowers, revealing gun barrels larger than skyscrapers. Mining platforms rose up on hidden legs, becoming mobile weapons platforms. Research stations shed their peaceful exteriors to show their true nature as command centers for the most powerful military force ever assembled. Sarah watched through the observation deck as the Terra's Resolve completed its transformation. The ship had been built inside a captured gas giant, using the planet's own mass as armor and structure. Its main weapon was a mass driver that could accelerate projectiles to 20% of light speed. The math was simple. When that massive hit something else at that speed, the target ceased to exist. "Admiral Chen," came a voice over the communication system. It was Marcus Torres, her fleet commander. "All units reporting ready, awaiting your orders." Sarah smiled. Marcus had been overseeing mining operations for 20 years, never knowing that he was actually building humanity's secret fleet. Like all the other commanders, he had been recruited gradually, brought into the conspiracy one piece at a time. By the time they understood the full scope of what they were building, they were already committed. "Begin Phase 2, Sarah ordered. "All ships proceed to rally points." Across human space, the hidden fleet began to move. Ships that had been disguised, as research stations detached from their moorings. Vessels that had been buried in asteroid fields fired up engines that should not have been possible. Planet-sized warships that had been hiding in the outer darkness turned toward the inner galaxy. On Earth, similar signals were being received at installations around the world. The Atacama Desert facility, which the world believed was a radio telescope array, began to unfold into a massive communications hub. The Antarctic Research Station revealed fusion reactors powerful enough to run a small city. The deep ocean mining platform in the Pacific rose to the surface, shedding its disguise to become an orbital launch facility. Every human on every world was receiving the same message. The time for hiding was over. Dr. Elena Vasquez felt her tablet vibrate with an encrypted message while she worked on the Zephyrian defense grid. The message was hidden in what appeared to be a routine maintenance update, but she could read the real meaning. "Fleet activation complete. Prepare for revelation." Around the galaxy, similar messages were being received by thousands of human engineers. The maintenance crews who had spent centuries fixing alien technology were about to show what they could really build. The first alien to notice something was wrong was traffic controller Venkaz on the trade station orbiting Proxima Centauri. His sensors detected massive gravitational anomalies throughout human space. Objects the size of planets were moving at impossible speeds. "This cannot be correct," Venkaz muttered, checking his instruments again. According to his readings, entire moons were accelerating toward interstellar space. The sensors must be malfunctioning, but similar reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Alien astronomers were detecting gravitational waves that suggested massive objects were moving in patterns that defied physics. Trade ships reported seeing construction platforms that seemed to be folding up and flying away. Mining operations that had been running for decades were simply disappearing. And everywhere, human engineers were calmly continuing their work, fixing alien technology with the same quiet efficiency they had always shown. Admiral Sarah Chen's fleet reached the first rally point 6 hours after activation. What had been empty space suddenly filled with ships that should not have existed. The new Olympus, built inside a hollowed-out dwarf planet. The Forge of Worlds, a ship that could manipulate stellar energy. The Titan's Hammer, powered by controlled black holes. Each ship represented decades of secret construction and physics that the galaxy's best scientists insisted was impossible. Humans had been building them anyway. Fleet status report. Sarah requested. 73 capital ships reporting ready, came the response from her fleet coordinator. All weapon systems operational. All exotic drives functioning within normal parameters. Normal parameters for ships that could phase in and out of reality, manipulate time and space, and ignore most known laws of physics. The galaxy's military, experts would have called such ships fantasy. Human engineers had called them Tuesday. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Elena received another coded message. This one made her smile. Admiral Chen's fleet was moving toward the outer rim, where the Devourers had been detected, but that was not the only fleet. Hidden construction facilities throughout the galaxy were coming online. The mining operation in the Vega system had just revealed itself to be a shipyard the size of a solar system. The research station near the galactic core was actually a fortress that could withstand the gravitational stress of a black hole. Humans had not just built a few large ships. They had built the largest, most advanced, most impossible military force in galactic history, and they had done it all while pretending to be harmless maintenance workers. The Galactic Council emergency session was in chaos. Representatives from every major species were demanding answers. How had entire fleets appeared from nowhere? What were these massive gravitational anomalies? Why were human research stations suddenly showing massive energy signatures? Perhaps, suggested Council, Leader Zex Prime, we should ask the humans directly. A message was sent to Earth, requesting an immediate explanation. The response came from Dr. James Park, Earth's official representative to the galaxy. His message was polite and helpful, as human messages always were. We have detected the Devourer, threat, and are preparing to assist in any way possible. Our defensive systems are being activated to help protect galactic civilization. Defensive systems. The council members looked at each other nervously. If these massive ships were just defensive systems, what did human offensive systems look like? They were about to find out. Admiral Sarah Chen's fleet was approaching the outer rim when they received the first reports from the front lines. The Devourers were not just consuming planets. They were unmaking reality itself, deleting entire star systems from existence. Admiral, reported her science officer, we're detecting quantum-level destruction patterns. The Devourers are using weapons that attack the fundamental structure of space-time. Sarah nodded. She had expected this. Human intelligence had been studying Devourer artifacts for 50 years, ever since the first archaeological expedition had found one of their dead ships. Humans knew exactly what they were facing. That was why they had built ships that could fight gods. All ships, Sarah broadcast to her fleet, engage exotic drives. We are going to show the galaxy what human engineering can really do. Around her, reality began to bend as ships larger than planets prepared for a war that would decide the fate of the universe. The quiet engineers were about to become the saviors of everything, and none of the galaxy had been prepared for what humans could build when they really tried. Captain Lisa Anderson stood on the bridge of the Forge of Worlds and watched the Vega system die. The Devourers had arrived 3 days ago, and they were methodically consuming everything. Planets were being stripped down to their component, atoms. The star itself was growing dimmer as massive machines fed on its energy. Captain, reported her science officer, we're detecting 12 Devourer harvester ships and 1 command vessel. Mass estimates range from moon-sized to small planet. Lisa nodded. The Devourers were exactly as dangerous as human intelligence had predicted. Their ships were not just large, they were hungry. They consumed matter and energy to grow larger and more powerful. Left unchecked, they would devour the entire galaxy. But humans had not left them unchecked. All ships, Lisa broadcast to the human fleet. This is Captain Anderson of the Forge of Worlds. Time to show these machines what real engineering looks like. The human ships had been invisible until that moment, hidden by technology that bent light and space around them. Now they revealed themselves, and the scale was staggering. The smallest human vessel was larger than the biggest Devourer ship. The largest was the size of a gas giant. The Devourers reacted immediately. Their ships turned toward the human fleet and began charging weapons that could unmake matter at the quantum level, reality-destroying beams that could delete anything. They touched from existence. Incoming quantum disruptor fire, reported the weapons officer on the new Olympus. Recommend evasive action. No need, replied Captain James Wu calmly. Activate phase shift. The new Olympus began to flicker in and out of normal space-time. The Devourer weapons passed through empty space where the ship had been a moment before. When the new Olympus phased back into reality, it was in a completely different position, and its own weapons were charging. Quantum tunneling torpedoes, full spread, Captain Wu ordered. The torpedoes materialized inside the Devourer ships, bypassing their shields entirely. The explosions were not just powerful, they were impossible. The warheads created localized space-time distortions that turned the target ships inside out. 3 Devourer harvesters simply ceased to exist. This is impossible, transmitted the Devourer command ship. Its mechanical voice was confused, almost frightened. These weapons violate fundamental laws of physics. No, replied Captain Lisa Anderson. They just use different laws of physics. The IZ Forge of Worlds powered up its main weapon, a stellar manipulation array that could destabilize nearby stars. Lisa had spent 20 years learning to operate this system, practicing on uninhabited star systems in the galactic rim. She could make a star flare, go nova, or even collapse into a black hole. Today, she was going to give the Vega star indigestion. Stellar. Array firing, Lisa announced. Invisible beams of exotic energy struck the star's core, causing massive instabilities. Solar flares erupted from the surface, each one larger than most planets. The flares struck the remaining Devourer ships with the force of stellar explosions. The Devourers had armor that could withstand planet-killing weapons. They were not prepared for star-killing weapons. 2 more Harvester ships were vaporized instantly. The others began rapid retreat maneuvers, but they were not fast enough. This is Admiral Marcus Torres aboard the Terra's Resolve, came a new voice on the communication channel. Sorry we're late to the party. The Terra's Resolve materialized from hyperspace, its massive bulk causing gravitational distortions that bent light around it. The ship was built around the converted mass of Jupiter with weapons that could accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. Mass driver charged and ready, reported the weapons officer. Fire, Torres ordered. A projectile the size of a city block accelerated to 20% of light speed struck the Devourer command ship. The impact released energy equivalent to a small star going supernova. The command ship, which had survived the death of entire civilizations, was simply obliterated. The remaining Devourer ships fled the system at maximum speed, transmitting desperate messages to their distant masters. The messages were intercepted by human intelligence vessels that had been monitoring Devourer communications for decades. They're calling for reinforcements, reported Captain Wu. Looks like they've never encountered resistance like this before. Good, replied Admiral Torres. Let them come. We have a lot more ships where these came from. The battle for Vega had lasted exactly 17 minutes. In that time, the human fleet had destroyed 13 Devourer vessels using weapons that the galaxy's best scientists would have called impossible. The Devourers, who had conquered thousands of civilizations over millions of years, had never faced an enemy that treated the laws of physics as mild suggestions. But the real shock was not the human victory. It was what happened next. As the battle ended, Admiral Sarah Chen's main fleet arrived from the Outer Rim. 200 planet-sized warships materialized from hyperspace, each one equipped with weapons that operated on different physical principles. Some manipulated gravity, others bent time and space. A few existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Admiral Chen to all ships, came the broadcast. Devourer advance force eliminated, preparing for main engagement. The Galactic Council. had been monitoring the battle through long-range sensors. The alien representatives sat in stunned silence as they watched the human fleet deploy. Each ship was larger and more powerful than anything in their combined fleets. "How?" whispered Council Leader Zex Prime. "How did they build such things?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Elena Vasquez, still working on the Zephyrian defense grid, received permission to address the Council directly. "Honored representatives," Elena said politely, "humans have been building these ships for 300 years. Every mining operation, every research station, every maintenance facility has been part of the construction effort. We have been preparing for this war since we first joined galactic civilization." "But the physics?" protested the Altarian science minister. "These ships use technologies that should not exist," Elena smiled. "Humans have always been good at building things that should not exist. We call it engineering." On her tablet, Elena was receiving constant updates from the fleet. The Voidwalker had successfully tested its quantum superposition drive, allowing it to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. The reality anchor was manipulating fundamental constants of physics in localized space-time bubbles. The probability Storm was using quantum uncertainty to make enemy weapons miss by making the probability of impact approach 0. Each ship represented decades of theoretical physics research turned into practical applications. Human scientists had not just studied exotic physics, they had weaponized it. "The Devourers are sending their main fleet," reported Admiral Chen. "Estimated arrival in 6 hours. We'll be ready." Around the galaxy, more human ships were revealing themselves. The asteroid mining operation in the Tau Ceti system unfolded into a mobile shipyard that began producing new vessels in real time. The research station near the galactic core activated planetary defense systems that could withstand black hole-level gravitational stress. Humans had not just built a fleet. They had built an entire parallel civilization dedicated to war against impossible enemies. Every human engineer in the galaxy had been part of it, working quietly and efficiently while the aliens believed they were just fixing broken equipment. The maintenance crews were about to save the galaxy, and they were going to do it with ships that redefined what was physically possible. The Devourers had consumed thousands of civilizations. They had never encountered a species that could consume physics itself and turn it into weapons. They were about to learn what human engineering could accomplish when the survival of the universe was at stake, and none of them were prepared for a war against the laws of reality itself. The Devourer main fleet arrived like a mechanical plague. Thousands of ships, each one the size of a moon, emerged from dark space and began their advance toward the galactic core. They had learned from the battle at Vega and brought weapons, designed specifically to counter human technology. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of her flagship as reality itself began to break down around the enemy fleet. The Devourers were using weapons that deleted space-time, creating holes in the universe where matter simply ceased to exist. Other weapons targeted the quantum foundations of reality, unmaking the fundamental forces that held atoms together. "Admiral," reported her science officer, "they're using reality bombs. Entire sections of space are being erased from existence." Sarah nodded grimly. Human intelligence had predicted this escalation. The Devourers were no longer just consuming matter and energy. They were attacking the basic structure of the universe itself. "All ships," Sarah broadcast, "implement Protocol 7, full reality defense mode." Around the human fleet, space began to stabilize as powerful reality anchors activated. These devices projected fields that reinforced the local structure of space-time, making it resistant to the Devourer reality bombs. But the energy cost was enormous, and Sarah knew they could not maintain these defenses indefinitely. The first human ship to die was the Quantum Dawn, a cruiser-sized vessel that specialized in probability manipulation. A Devourer reality bomb struck it directly, and the ship simply vanished. Not destroyed, not vaporized, but erased from existence as if it had never been built. "We've lost the Quantum Dawn," reported Fleet Coordinator Martinez. "No wreckage, no survivors. The ship no longer exists in any timeline." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She had served with Captain Rodriguez of the Quantum Dawn for 15 years. Now he and his crew of 3,000 had been deleted from reality itself, but even as ships died, more appeared to replace them. Hidden construction facilities throughout the galaxy were activating, producing new vessels at impossible speeds. The research station near Rigel revealed itself to be an automated shipyard that could build planet-sized warships in a matter of hours. "Admiral Chen," came a transmission from Dr. Elena Vasquez on Zephyria, "We're implementing emergency protocols. All civilian installations are being converted to military production." Around the galaxy, human engineers began revealing the true purpose of their work. The power plant Elena had been repairing on Zephyria was actually a weapons factory. The mining operation on Kepler 442b was a missile production facility. The terraforming project on Ross 128b was building automated defense platforms. Every human facility in the galaxy had been designed with dual purposes: peace and war, construction and destruction, all hidden behind the facade of helpful maintenance. Workers. On the Altarian homeworld, engineer David Chen received activation codes and began implementing what appeared to be routine system upgrades. In reality, he was turning the planet's orbital elevators into massive kinetic bombardment systems. The peaceful cargo lifts became weapons that could drop tungsten rods from orbit with planet-cracking force. "David," called his Altarian supervisor, "what are you doing to our cargo systems?" "Emergency modifications," David replied calmly. "The Devourers may try to invade populated worlds. These upgrades will help with planetary defense." The Altarian nodded, trusting human engineering as aliens always did. They never suspected that David was turning their peaceful world into a fortress that could fight off entire fleets. Similar conversions were happening on every world where humans worked. Mining equipment became weapons. Power plants became shield generators. Communication arrays became command centers for automated defense networks. The galaxy was transforming into a war machine, all coordinated by the quiet engineers who had been planning this moment for 3 centuries. In the main battle, the Devourer fleet pressed their attack with increasing desperation. Their Nexus mind, the collective intelligence that controlled all Devourer forces, had never encountered resistance like this. Every time they destroyed a human ship, 2 more appeared. Every time they developed a new weapon, the humans countered it within hours. The human ship scientific method was deliberately allowing itself to be attacked by different Devourer weapons, analyzing each attack and broadcasting countermeasures to the entire fleet. Its captain, Dr. Susan Park, had volunteered her ship and crew for this dangerous mission. "Reality bomb incoming," reported her weapons officer. "Estimated deletion probability, 97%. "Let it hit," Dr. Park ordered calmly. "We need to understand how their reality weapons work." The bomb struck the scientific method directly, but instead of being erased, the ship flickered and shifted through multiple dimensions. The reality bomb deleted the ship from normal space-time, but the ship continued to exist in parallel dimensions. "Fascinating," Dr. Park muttered as her instruments recorded every detail of the attack. "The bombs only target 3-dimensional space. Multi-dimensional shielding provides complete protection. Within minutes, every human ship in the fleet was implementing multi-dimensional shielding. The Devourer reality bombs became completely ineffective, striking ships that existed partially outside normal space-time. The Nexus mind realized it was losing. For the first time in millions of years, the Devourers faced an enemy that could adapt faster than they could attack. Every Devourer advantage was being countered by human engineering. In desperation, the Nexus mind deployed its ultimate weapon, consciousness viruses designed to corrupt and destroy artificial intelligence systems. The viruses spread through communication networks, turning friendly AI against their creators. But the human ship's AI systems were not like anything the Devourers had encountered. Built using quantum consciousness principles, the human AIs existed in a state of controlled quantum superposition. The consciousness viruses could not find stable targets to infect. Virus attack detected, reported the AI of the reality anchor. Initiating quantum consciousness protocols. Virus unable to establish stable connection to consciousness matrix. The Devourer viruses designed to corrupt minds found themselves trying to infect thoughts that existed in multiple states simultaneously. The human AIs were literally two, strange for the viruses to understand. Admiral Sarah Chen smiled as she watched the failed attack. Human engineers had not just built better ships, they had built better minds to control them. AIs that could think in multiple dimensions, process quantum uncertainty, and exist in several states of consciousness at once. All ships, Sarah broadcast, begin final advance. It's time to end this. The human fleet moved forward, reality bending around them as planet-sized warships accelerated to impossible speeds. They were not just ships anymore. They were mobile, pieces of engineered spacetime carrying their own physics with them. Behind them, the galaxy watched in amazement. The maintenance workers, the fix-it people, the harmless humans were saving everyone with technology that should not exist. They had turned the impossible into the inevitable. The Devourer Nexus Mind sent one final transmission before retreating. To the galactic core. What are you? The answer came from every human ship simultaneously. We are engineers. And they were about to engineer the salvation of the universe itself. The final battle took place at the center of the galaxy, where the massive black hole called Sagittarius A dominated space-time with its impossible gravity. The Devourer Nexus Mind had retreated there with the last of its fleet, planning to weaponize the black hole itself. Admiral Marcus Torres watched from the bridge of the Terra's Resolve as the Devourers began their desperate gambit. They were feeding matter into the black hole at incredible rates, trying to destabilize it and turn it into a weapon that could destroy the entire galaxy. Admiral, reported his science officer, they're increasing the black hole's mass by 17%. If they continue, it will become gravitationally unstable. Marcus nodded. A destabilized galactic center would create a cascade effect, tearing apart every star system in the galaxy. The Devourers were willing to destroy everything rather than face defeat. But humans had prepared for this possibility too. Deploy the engineer's dream, Marcus ordered. From the center of the human fleet, the ultimate expression of human engineering revealed itself. The engineer's dream was not just a ship. It was a captured neutron star, hollowed out and converted into a mobile gravity manipulation platform. The engineering required to build such a vessel had taken 50 years and violated several laws of physics that scientists insisted were absolute. Captain Elena Vasquez, promoted from her position as a maintenance engineer, now commanded this impossible ship. She had spent the last 10 years learning to control gravity itself, practicing on dead star systems in the galactic rim. Captain Vasquez, came Admiral Torres's transmission, you are cleared to implement the final solution. Elena smiled. After 300 years of preparation, everything came down to this moment. Understood, Admiral. Beginning gravity manipulation sequence. The engineer's dream moved toward the galactic center, its passage causing space-time distortions that bent light into spirals. As it approached the black hole, the ship began to sing, a deep harmonic resonance that came from manipulating gravitational waves themselves. The Devourer. Nexus Mind realized what was happening and turned all its weapons toward the approaching vessel. Reality bombs, quantum disruptors, and consciousness viruses struck the engineer's dream simultaneously. None of them had any effect. The ship existed in a state of controlled gravitational collapse, its matter compressed to neutron star density. Reality bombs could not delete something that was already beyond normal physics. Quantum disruptors could not affect matter that existed in a post-quantum state. "This is impossible," transmitted the Nexus mind. "No species has ever achieved gravity manipulation on this scale." "You clearly haven't met enough engineers," Elena replied. The engineer's dream reached the black hole and began its work. Instead of fighting the Devourer fleet directly, Elena did something far more subtle. She began to restructure the gravitational field around the black hole, creating precise distortions that interfered with Devourer technology. The Devourers had built their entire civilization around consuming matter and energy. Their ships, their weapons, their collective consciousness, everything depended on controlled matter consumption. Elena was changing the fundamental gravitational environment around them, making their consumption processes impossible. "What are you doing to us?" the Nexus mind demanded. "I'm debugging your code," Elena replied. She was literally rewriting the gravitational programming that allowed Devourer technology to function. Like a computer programmer fixing corrupted software, Elena was using gravity manipulation to alter the quantum foundations of Devourer consciousness. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the Devourer fleet, ships began to malfunction as their matter consumption drives failed, but instead of shutting down, they began to behave differently. The drive to consume and destroy was being replaced with something else entirely. We do not understand," transmitted the Nexus mind, confusion evident in its mechanical voice. "The hunger is fading. We feel different." Elena was not destroying the Devourers. She was reprogramming them, using gravitational manipulation to rewrite their collective consciousness at the quantum level, changing their fundamental drive from consumption to creation. It was the most complex engineering project in galactic history, debugging an entire mechanical civilization and installing new behavioral programming. "You feel the urge to build instead of destroy," Elena explained patiently. "To create instead of consume. To repair instead of devour. It's called being helpful. Around the galactic center, the transformation spread through the Devourer fleet. Ships that had been designed to consume planets began converting themselves into construction platforms. Weapons designed to delete reality became tools for building new star systems. The Nexus mind struggled to understand its new programming. "This compulsion to create, to build, to help others, is this what you call consciousness?" "It's what we call being civilized," Elena replied. The war was over. Not through destruction, but through the ultimate act of engineering, reformatting an entire species and giving them better software. Admiral Sarah Chen's fleet arrived to find the Devourers beginning construction of a massive space habitat around the galactic center. Former planet killer ships were now building homes for refugees from the Outer Rim colonies. "Admiral," reported the lead Devourer constructor, "we require assistance with habitat life support systems. Our new programming compels us to ensure the survival and comfort of organic beings." Sarah smiled. "I'll send some engineers to help you." The aftermath was swift and dramatic. Throughout the galaxy, the revelation of human capabilities changed everything. The species that had been dismissed as harmless maintenance workers were revealed as the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. The Galactic Council offered humanity leadership of galactic military forces. They offered trade privileges, territorial, concessions, and anything else humans might want. They were desperate to maintain good relations with the species that could rewrite reality itself. But the human response surprised everyone. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now returned to her work on Zephyria, politely declined all offers of power and territory. "Thank you," she said to the council representatives, "but we prefer our current roles. There's always something that needs fixing." Around the galaxy, humans quietly returned to their maintenance duties. The planet-sized warships folded back. into their disguises as mining operations and research stations. The impossible weapons were hidden again behind facades of peaceful engineering projects. To the aliens, it appeared that nothing had changed. Humans were still the helpful engineers who fixed everything and asked for nothing in return. They still worked quietly, sent routine maintenance reports, and kept galactic civilization running smoothly. But now everyone knew the truth. The maintenance workers could rebuild reality itself if necessary. The fix-it people had weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. The harmless engineers were the guardians of the galaxy. Elena smiled as she finished recalibrating the Zephyrian defense grid. The system was now operating at 200% efficiency, using modifications that technically should not work, but somehow did anyway. Because humans were very good at making impossible things work. Her tablet chimed with an incoming message from Admiral Chen. New potential threats detected in the Magellanic Clouds. Recommend monitoring. Elena typed back a simple response. Understood. We'll keep an eye on things. Around the galaxy, similar messages were being sent to thousands of human engineers. The quiet watch was resuming. The maintenance crews were back on duty, ready to fix anything that might threaten galactic peace. The aliens went about their daily lives, secure in the knowledge that somewhere in the darkness, planet-sized ships waited silently, ready to unfold at a moment's notice if the universe needed saving again, and in small workshops and engineering stations throughout the galaxy, humans continued their patient work, fixing broken systems, improving efficiency ratings, and preparing for whatever impossible challenge might come next. Because that was what engineers did. They solved problems, built solutions, and made sure everything kept working properly, even if none of the galaxy had been prepared for what they could really accomplish when they put their minds to it.